to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. And today's guest is Daniela Furtado, the Toronto-based Managing Director of Findable Digital Marketing, a boutique SEO agency that specializes in two industries, design and cannabis. I can't even say that without laughing. That sounds like something up my alley. Seriously, Daniela's SEO expertise spills into content creation, PR strategy, and paid digital advertising. She's an advocate of quality SEO and helping designers get the most out of your amazing projects, okay? And a shout out and thank you to our show sponsor, Rebel Woods. Being in your own business is all about doing your best work and maximizing your profits, right? Because if it's really only about doing your best work, well, you could donate your time and services to a colleague who is swamped with projects, right? I didn't think so. So you owe it to yourself to at least check out Rebel Woods. I know you think or you can't, or you think you can't, or you don't need to sell hardwood flooring, but what if you learned something like dozens of your colleagues have learned that are already doing it? What if you put the hardwood flooring under your umbrella and you made the profit on it? I'll tell you what, you would reach your revenue milestones faster. That's what. And if you're thinking, I don't know the first thing about flooring, well, that is the entire premise of Rebel Woods. It's not just come here and buy it. It's come here and let us teach it to you. They have created a platform that makes it virtually impossible to order the wrong flooring. Give it a look. In this day of online comparison shopping, Revelwoods is your secret weapon. Go to revelwoods.com and ask Aubrey to walk you through the possibilities. Now, let's see what advice Daniela has for us on how to build our online presence, increase our Google rank, and spread the word about our business. Hi, Daniela. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, LuAnn. Thanks for having me.
Well, Daniela, I have to tell you, anybody that specializes in the interior design field and cannabis, you got my attention.
I'm glad it worked.
I'm like, what? I'm like, wait, so do you like supply all the designers you work with pot so they can get through their day? Like, what exactly is happening here?
I wish I could do that. I wish I could.
We're going to be friends now after this. Don't forget that part, okay? Okay, so here's the thing. You are a CEO expert and your company specializes in it. And I love anytime a company specializes in the interior design industry, because I know that you over time through many, many clients doing this, the similar things for different clients over and over again, you are ever increasing your knowledge base on the best way to serve that particular client. And in your case, the best way to really, figure out this whole, the googly man and his SEO things, right? So it brings that confidence each time you address a new client, right?
Absolutely.
Daniela, I have a question for you. You, in our exchange by email, you said to me that one of the things that you really wanted to teach designers today was how to get SEO traffic to their portfolios. So what does that mean? Talk to me about that. That sounds exciting.
Yeah. So one of the things that annoy me, to be honest, with interior designers is how they underutilize their website. For a lot of interior designers, their website is kind of like this virtual portfolio, and that's it. They're not milking it to get traffic, to get sales, or to even get PR. And so I think it starts with their portfolio. instead of just adding photos, like a photo gallery to your website, tell me the story behind it. Show me the before, the during, and the after. Why did you decide to design it this way? What it was the concept? What was the approach? Tell me about the budget if you can. Tell me about the challenges that you came through. Yeah, tell me about the project so I know that you're not just choosing colors and pillows, but you're actually helping the client with the permit, with the design concept. They're designing a home that fits their lifestyle, the construction, really the whole process. I think people really underestimate what interior designers can do. And I mean, your website can be a part of educating people. And then if you turn that case study into something that is optimized for search engines, then you can get organic traffic, and then you can even run ads for it, and then you can pitch it to PR. Like, there's so much you can do when you tell stories on your website instead of just slapping photos.
Okay, it's funny because I was thought you were going to, oh, well, label your photos, but this is much deeper than that and much broader, and it looks like that it has a lot more uses. So what you're saying is, and I hear you. I love that we're both outsiders technically to the industry in the sense that we're not interior designers, but they are an industry that we work with all the time, because I often have the same feeling when I'm working with a designer and they describe what they do, or they just say, oh, that's what I did, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but wait, how did you actually do that? And then when you hear everything that goes into it, you're just like, yeah, see, you're making that look too easy. You're not actually bringing. I didn't realize that. And you find the same thing, right?
Yeah, and I think that's common, right? Because we do this, like I'm the same way when it comes to search engines. I just hired a junior recently, and she's great. Like, no diss to her, but as I'm training her, I'm realizing, oh wow, there's a lot that I take for granted, that I just assume that people know, that is easy just because I do it all the time. So I think it's the same for designers, and having someone that, like you or myself, I guess, that can come in and say, no, this is really interesting, or this is deeper, and let's double down on this, or let's pitch this to PR, or let's do something more with this. Is something that we need. That's why we have teams, right? And we need each other.
Right. And so what you're saying is one of the first things that a designer should consider is taking a look at a portfolio project. So, like, we call it To Smith Lane, and then there's 7 pictures about all the, the things that they did on Smith Lane. And you're saying, what is it? Make it a blog post detailing information about it, and then SEO optimize that blog post. Is that what we're talking about, Daniela?
Yeah, there's a whole strategy behind it. So the first thing I would do is I would look at a project, and I would ask the designer to give me more information about it. So what I want to do is I want to get one of my writers to turn into a case study. So tell me about the before, the after, the process, what were the clients like, the challenges, everything I just mentioned earlier. I want to get all that information down, and then I get a writer to write it in a way that is appealing, right, to the everyday person. And then at the same time, what we do is we look at appropriate keywords for it. So for example, if it's like a full gut renovation, then that's a keyword we're going to optimize. We're going to call it like full gut renovation case study Toronto. So when someone searches those keywords, you come up. And so you probably won't get a tremendous amount of traffic because it's so niche, but it will be a very good, there will be a lot of uses for it afterwards. So we that's the first step, is to create a case study and then find that keyword at the same time, and write for both, write for search and write for just the everyday user. And then from there, you can find ways to create blog posts and then link back to it. You can include it on your service page. And so that way, when people find your site on maybe pages that have more organic traffic or that you're running ads to, they'll find your case study, and that will be kind of the thing that pushes them over the edge to contact you. Then you can also pitch it to magazines. I'm giving you a lot of information. I'm not sure if
No, it's all good. And I guess what I have is it's a tiny little technical question. You're using the word case study.
Yes.
And are you using it with specificity? Is that a word? Do I say that word right? I always say that word wrong.
I get what you mean. I say case study because I want designers to understand that we're not just putting photos. It's not a photo gallery. It's not a blog post. I want you to demonstrate the work that you did. I want to like, imagine I'm a client, I'm a potential client, and I'm thinking about hiring you. I want to kind of get a sneak peek of what it's like to work with you, the process, and what you can do for me by looking at what you've done for other people. So that's why I use the word case study.
Okay, so it's so in other words, if I Google how to create a case study, there are specific things that go into a case study. You're just talking about get the story out. Or are you saying, loosely follow that, where you're going to do it? If we hire your company, you're going to do it. But some of us are going to do it on our own.
Right.
And so we're making sure that people know how to do it on their own if that's what they choose to.
Right. Okay, so I see what you mean. I don't know if there's a standardized way to create a case study, but something that I've seen a little bit in the design industry. There are not a lot of designers that are doing this, but those that I've seen and what we do for our clients, the structure goes like this. There's like on the top, you got the banners, like the name of the case study, right, and the location. And then further down, you break down the details, like the budget, the timeline, square footage, location maybe, and give me a summary of just a top level summary of what this project was about. And then further down, you can break up sections however you like, but typical sections I see are things like before and after photos. The design concept is another section. Common challenges about the client. These are all potential like sections you could have in your case study. And then on somewhere, I'd like to put it on the bottom, but can also have like a testimonial directly from the client, and then a full gallery for more photos.
Nice. Okay, so let's just review that, because I think you might be about the fastest talker ahead on the show besides me.
Sorry.
So that's okay. So you said at the top you have the name of the case study. Then we're going to list the budget, the timeline, the square footage. I think I missed something there.
Just a summary of give me a top level summary of the project. Yes.
Okay, summary of project, and then was the next thing the before and after photos?
Yeah, the order really depends. I find every designer has their own preference of order, but the sections would be before and after, design concept, common challenges about the client. This is more common if it's like a commercial project versus residential. You don't want to like give personal information about people.
Yeah.
Testimonial, and then a more complete photo gallery.
Love it. Okay, so we have the name of the project, the budget, the timeline, their square footage, summary of the project, and then other components are going to include the before and after shots, the design concept, and then the challenges that you faced on it and how you overcame them, what they were and how you overcame them, and then testimonials and full gallery of the project, and if it's appropriate, about the client. So even if it was a personal client, you could do something like 3 kids, 2 dogs, 15 cats, right? Like,
yeah.
Right. Okay. So that is a lot of information there, and that is awesome. I think we might have to make a goodie out of this. I'm going to make a note right now. We're going to have to make a goodie so that people don't have to worry about trying to write all this down, Daniela. Love it. Okay. So this is awesome, because now once we put in all the work to this, if we are working with yourself or somebody else that we might be working with SEO, you're going to then kind of rewrite this and just, choose some keywords to put in there, right? Okay, understood.
Usually when you're creating this structure, you want to figure out what those keywords are going to be. So as you're writing it, you can keep it in mind. But typically even if you don't, it's pretty easy to go back and kind of work them in.
Right. Love it. And then, what you were saying before is now this can become a blog. So I was thinking the other way. So now this can be more conversational. This could be blah, blah, blah. And then also you shorten it up, you tighten it up, and it becomes a pitch for press, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
So I can give you an example if you'd like of what we did for a client.
Sure.
So, we had a residential interior designer come to us, and she had a ton of different projects. And so we did this, right? We looked at each project one by one, try to figure out what was unique about it. And there was one in particular that was actually, as we were chatting, she said it like very nonchalant. She's like, "Oh yeah, I used to be a nunnery." And I'm like, whoa, hold on. This is something we can work with. So I thought, okay, we won't be able to get much organic traffic from this, because how many people are searching like
for nunneries?
How to renovate a nunnery. But this could be there's a lot that can come out of this, because it was also a certified heritage home. So we did a case study, exactly how the structure I gave you, and then we created a blog post about how to renovate a heritage home. And then when we wanted to give examples in the blog post, we referenced back to that case study. And then what we did was we turned it into a press release. We called it From Nunnery to Family Home, and we pitched it to so many magazines. It ended up getting into Casa Vogue, Elle Canada, Home and Trends magazine. I got into Design Milk. Like I think like 12 like fairly sized design magazines. Yeah. And they picked it up like within 24 hours of pitching it. And we don't, I like to think that we're very good at what we do, but we're not a huge marketing agency. So it's not like where I'm not BFFs with the editor in chief, but we had a really, really good, story and a really good line, right? And so it was easy to catch, and that helps SEO. When you get links to these sites and traffic from these sites, that helps with your overall SEO. And then we also, just to milk it even more, what we did was now that we had this blog post about heritage homes, and we've demonstrated that she's an expert in renovating heritage homes, something that's a little bit, can be quite complex. We pitched her to podcasts, real estate podcasts, people that were people that are looking to flip homes. They often listen to real estate podcasts or renovation podcasts, and so we pitched her to talk about how to renovate a heritage home. And so she talked in maybe, I don't know, half a dozen podcasts.
That's amazing. That, what I love about that is that, she was fully aware that she had renovated a nunnery, but because her superpower isn't press and SEO and all the things, she didn't make the connection. What a unique and opportunity that she had there to capitalize on it, which that is why we go to experts. I mean, how many of us would have thought the way you did about it? And that's exciting. That's very exciting. That's when you're getting your money's worth from a professional that you hired, when the same thing that you just did the same day is completely turned on its head by something in your genius. I love that.
Yeah, thank you. And that's why I say from the very beginning, it irks me to see designers really underutilize their portfolio or their website, and just treat it as a portfolio and nothing else. There's really so much that you can do with it from a marketing, PR, SEO standpoint. So yeah. Yeah.
I love it. We had an episode with Sara Barney, and I will put her number in the show notes. She came on the show because Sara, I can't recall exactly, but I want to say within 3 years, built her from zero ground up design firm to like a $2 million firm. And she literally placed much of the reason for that on SEO. She said that she moved into a new market, as I recall, and she had come from the television industry, and now she was going to go into design. Her and her husband moved, and she was like, I got to get this thing off the ground, and I can't wait for, the universe and everything else to chug along at its own pace. And she made a decision to invest in an SEO firm out the gate. So I don't even know what budget we're talking about, Daniela. If somebody were starting out, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in relation to just your firm, but what's the going budget that somebody should say, okay, I'm going to do this with an expert?
Yeah. There's a huge range in the industry, because it's not, unlike designers, there's not like an official association. There's not like an exam that we pass. It's the world of the internet. So it's like, there's no standardization, and you can find just a wide range of skill sets. So you can find people that charge like $500 a month, and you can find agencies that charge $10,000 a month. So the range is very large.
How about this then? How about if I ask it to you in this way, and maybe this will frame it? Because I hear that, that's so true. It's like somebody asking a designer, how much does it cost to design my kitchen? It's like, Oh, well, I don't know. Do you want a $50,000 kitchen or a $400,000 kitchen, right? It makes sense. I'm sorry. So,
No, it's
yeah, no, I get it.
question.
Yeah. So how about this? How about let's talk about what someone should look for as a criteria if they were to invest in an SEO company. What are the markers of a good SEO strategy and the deliverables that a reputable firm will typically include?
Yeah, okay. So there are fantastic blog posts I've read online that have a whole list of things. So I may skip a few things, but the things that come top of mind is if anyone guarantees anything to you. So they guarantee that you're going to be number one on Google. They're going to guarantee that they'll rank for X amount of keywords. We don't own the algorithm. We are kind of like algorithm manipulators. You know what I mean? Like, we don't own the algorithm. We're not, we have no control of it. So we do our best. Our job is to study the algorithm and do our best to make sure that your website aligns with it. So anyone that guarantees results, I think, is a big red flag. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? If they're saying that they're going to get these fantastic results for only $100, and the results, like if the projects could mean tens of thousands of dollars of monthly revenue, like it just doesn't match. The investment doesn't match the kind of return that you could get from it.
Right.
So that I think is the big red flag. I would also ask about, are they just going to do SEO? Meaning, like, are they just going to come onto your site and add some keywords and optimize it from a technical standpoint? Or are they really going to help you with the whole content marketing, PR strategy? And this is something that we do with our clients, right? We try to understand who are your target customers, and what content can we create to get in front of them. So that's not something all SEO agencies do. Not all of them write the content for you and help you with that overall strategy and then repurpose it for PR. So that's kind of, and then another thing is like, how do they do ads as well? So like, how varied are their skill sets? Those are things that I would look out for.
I love it.
Do they have experience with designers?
Yeah, good point. Do they have any idea what the keywords for your industry are?
Or at least service-based businesses.
Right.
I think like the type of SEO for a media publishing company versus an e-commerce versus a service-based business, it's all very different. There are different goals and different strategies. So if maybe if they're not specialized in interior designers, have they worked with service-based business before, where the strategy is less about quantity and more about quality?
Okay, very good. Because that's a great distinction there, right? Mm-hmm. So if you are selling widgets, you need thousands and thousands of people to buy the widget, right? Okay, understood. Okay, and then how about tips for designers who maybe are not at the position or the desired level yet to invest in a separate company? Are there things that you can share to help us do it on our own?
Absolutely. I think the lowest hanging fruit is your Google My Business account. So this is what allows you to be on Google Maps. So optimize your account as much as possible. So what that means is make sure that you have the word interior designer and the name of your city in your description within your review. So ask for reviews from clients and ask them to write, the best, John was the best interior designer in whatever states or city you're located in. So getting your customers to write reviews that use the keywords also help in your description, in your, throughout your profile, use those keywords.
And how do you suggest that people do that? In other words, do you suggest that the companies that work with you have a form that at the completion that they either present or they hand and they say, see, the thing is, like, it's funny because interior design, interior designers are working with clients for weeks and weeks and months. And so I think there is a part of it that's a little bit easier, that when you finally ask for the review, you know them so well, you can say, could you use the word interior design in it, and could you use the city that we're in it? But what about like your cannabis dealers? They're, people walking in, cash and carry it. So when are they doing a automated, hey, thanks so much. I
Yeah.
mean, you go get your hair done, and 5 seconds later, it's like, hey, you get a text, review us. I'm like, oh my goodness, do I honestly have to review you every single time here? So,
Yeah, yeah. These are great questions. I really, really like your style of interviewing, LuAnn. Um, okay, so you're right. I've noticed that that's a huge difference, and I've noticed that exactly with our two clients. So with interior designers, you work with them on a long-term basis and so intimately. You like go over to their house and you like hang
have
out with them
coffee
sometimes,
and look in their drawers.
So you feel more comfortable asking that, and because you're asking fewer people and you have a more intimate relationship with them, you're more likely to get a review as well. Whereas with cannabis dispensaries, for example, the volume is so high. So even though you ask every customer to leave a review, not all of them are gonna leave it. So yeah, so the approach is different. So for now, let's say you have a very high volume like flow of clients, or maybe you have like an online store, or maybe I've seen interior designers have shops as well. I've met a few of those. So you can set up a process. And what I've seen people do is that, and we've helped them, is that after maybe the last invoice that you send, or whatever, like whatever your last formal interaction is, you ask them to fill out a questionnaire. And in that questionnaire, you ask them for their feedback, just like max 3 questions. And if it's a very high, like high quality review, then you can ask them to copy and paste it into Google Maps. That's quite lengthy. Like that's how you can make sure that they're saying the things that you want them to say.
Yes,
and
yeah.
5 stars. Otherwise, like with dispensaries, what they do is they have a QR code at the checkout, or if it's an online order, they have a link. And the way you ask the question is so important. Ask the question using the keywords you want them to use. And so that's kind of a way to, doesn't always work, but it helps people, it gives them some sort of structure to work with when they are writing the review. So what I mean by that is, if you ask them, if you think we're the best dispensary in Toronto, can you please write us a review? And so that kind of influences how they write the review by the question you asked. Yeah, I think that's the best way to go about it. So that's how, so to answer your question, like you can create a process so that you're getting a consistent flow of reviews. You're asking every single person, so you can build that in. And how you ask that question will reflect the kind of reviews that you get.
Okay. I love it. I love it. And so what is it? Are there other things like with the SEO, which is where I thought it might have gone down the road, about having your pictures labeled with SEO words and keywords, right?
Yeah. If you
so
want,
tell
we
us
can
a
get
little
into
bit about
those.
that.
Yeah. If you want, we can get into those technical details. Yeah, so when you upload images to your website, you should compress them in advance. So you can use online compress tools, or you can use Adobe, for example, Adobe Photoshop, to compress them. The size really depends on like the size that they'll be on your site. Like if it's going to be a really big image, then you want it to be a bigger file size so that it's not compromising the quality. But if it's just an icon, make it super, super small. So at no point should your website, so your image, be more than 1 megabyte. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then yes, when you upload the image, you should change the file name to use a keyword. I mean, that's ideal. But if you're uploading, I don't know, a photo of books, don't call it interior designer Miami. Like it's not relevant to the image, right?
Googly's going to figure that out, right?
Yeah, and also like this is also used for screen readers, right? So people that are not hard of hearing, if they're
visually
eye
impaired.
impairment.
Visually impaired.
There
Yep.
we go. Thank you. So these screen readers help read the images and describe the images to them. So also keep it accurate for that reason.
So you would say, books as accessories for interior design, or interior design accessories books, or something like that. Like,
yeah, describe it what it is. So like if it's books, just call it books. But if maybe, I don't know, if it's a photo of like a bookshelf and you did the custom millwork for it, then yeah, you can call it like custom millwork bookshelf dash interior designer Toronto. Like that would make sense, right?
Right.
Because it's actually like if it's your own photo and it's relevant to the project, then yeah, it makes sense. So you
Okay.
put those keywords in the file name, and then when you upload it to your content management system, that could be WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, whatever it is, then your CMS, the platform, should give you the option to include metadata. So it'd be like a meta image description, and so you can put it again there.
Okay. And then how should one expect a good SEO firm to set out the course of the way that they'll work with you? In other words, should I expect them to meet with me once a week, once a month? Should I expect you to give me a list of things that I need to give you on a monthly basis so you can do the work that you're doing?
Yeah.
How does that work, Daniela?
Yeah, I'm not sure how all agencies do it, but I do know that the first 2 months, sometimes even 3 months, depending the state of your website, but definitely the first 2 months are the most intensive. So you'll get a lot of, again, it depends like how much work they're doing. If they're doing the copywriting for you, the entire strategy, then there'll be a lot of interaction. Like I would say in our case, we probably get on about 2 or 3 hours of calls with clients in the first month. And then there's like email correspondence in between. And then after the first 2-3 months, when a lot of the foundation is set, then usually monthly meetings are enough, like 1 hour a month type of thing.
And so are we saying that when you sign on to work with an SEO company, you can, it should be expected that at least there's the opportunity or it's included for an evaluation of your website? It almost sounds like when you take over, you're like, okay, this website needs some work here. And we're not talking about graphics and changing it. You're just saying the copy on it. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we do an evaluation or an audit. We want to see where you're at and where you want to be and what's required to fill in that gap. So so if you want to rank, like you tell me that I want to rank for restaurant interior designer, New York City, then I'm going to see when I search that, where do you currently rank? Do you rank number 100 on the 100th page, or like where are you currently? So that's the kind of audits I look for. And then I see, why aren't you ranking on the first page? What needs to be done? And so we identify what those issues are and then make a plan to get there. And that's what we do initially. Yeah.
Okay. And so what I'm hearing then, the work can be more or less involved based on how much the website is currently performing.
Exactly.
Okay, makes sense. So somebody might come to you and they're on the second page and okay, it's not a whole lot of difference to get to the first, but I can't even imagine coming up on the 100th page. That's got to be miserable.
Yeah, and I mean, this also depends on the market you're in, right? So if you are in, I don't know, like if you were in Winnipeg, Canada, and you're on the second page, it's going to be really easy to get you on the first page because the competition is, not so stiff. But being on the second page in New York City and trying to get to the first page, that's going to be a lot more difficult.
Interesting. Right. Okay. That makes sense. Right. Okay. But not impossible if you
Not
really,
impossible.
right.
Yeah, but you do have to ask yourself, like, how much work and money is going to be required to get to where you want to be, and is it going to be worthwhile? Like, are you charging enough on your client side, right? Like, are you making, like, is the investment in SEO, is it worthwhile for the revenue that you're going to get from it? So that's something to consider.
Okay. Well, I have to say, for me, if I were in a big market like New York City or LA and I was trying to get to that first page with the strategy that you laid out with doing the case study and then repurposing it as a blog, as a pitch for press and all the things, I feel like it's worth the shot because I'm getting a lot of ROI out of it beyond just if it moved me up on the page. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you sat there and cracked the whip and made me do all those things, I'd be like, all right, this is going to take a lot.
Something I haven't mentioned, but if you don't mind, I'd like to bring it up now, is another like great thing about SEO is if your website is like ranking well organically for these keywords, is that if you want to do ads, you're in a much better position.
We're on
And
the same page, Daniela. I just
okay.
literally wrote down the word paid ads. Ask her. So I was going to ask you if that's part of your services or your
Yeah.
expertise.
Yeah, we don't, it's, yeah. Actually, I've spoken on a lot of podcasts on the cannabis side because I know because running ads for cannabis is not allowed, but I know the loophole. And so I always talk about like, yeah, we have clients that are in the interior design space and running ads is so easy for them and the ROI is so great. I love doing it. And then with cannabis, it's like this challenge. It's this uphill battle. But yeah, there is a way to do it. So sorry, it is worthwhile doing. So look at ads as kind of like or Google as like a bank, right? So if you're on their good side, they will give you good interest fees when you apply for a mortgage. So it's the same thing with Google. If you have really good SEO, you're ranking organically for these keywords, you're not cheating, you're not trying to deceive Google, then when you are ready to do ads, they're going to give you a better rate, a better cost per click for the keywords that you want to bid on. I don't know. Do you want me to go into what cost per click is?
Yes, because I can't imagine how can they do that. So go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, for those that don't know, so when you search something like, I don't know, interior, like a construction company, San Francisco, when you search a keyword like that, you're going to get ads and you're going to get organic results. And so the ads, we know they're ads because there's a little like icon that says ad right beside it. And so those companies have paid Google to appear for that keyword. And so every time you click that ad, the company is going to pay for that click. So the price, though, that they pay depends on many, many different factors. It's going to depend on seasonality. It's going to depend on the state or the market, right? The cost per click for the States is different for the Philippines. It's going to depend on the demographics sometimes even. And it depends on the keyword and how competitive it is. So the financial or legal space, those keywords are extremely competitive and very, very expensive. And it's also going to depend on something called your quality score. So your quality score is like your credit score. It's your reputation with Google. And so this is what I said earlier, is if you have really good SEO and you're already organically ranking pretty high for this keyword, then Google is going to help you out and give you a better rate on your cost per click because you have a good quality score.
Wow, that is something that I don't recall ever hearing before. Nicole Heimer is probably going to listen to this. She can be like, Lou, I told you that. But I don't recall hearing that before, that your cost per click, that's a factor in it. That's interesting. And
there are many factors, though. So
yes, it's one of the factors, right? You said
yeah.
location was and all the things. And what are the things that increase your quality score with Google? One of them is how many keywords you have on your site already, but what are some of the other things?
Oh, like your overall SEO posture. So, like the number of backlinks you have, the keywords, of course, your current ranking for those keywords, your technical SEO. So is your website easy for Google to crawl, aka navigate? Are there a lot of broken links? Is it mobile friendly? Just your overall website presence and SEO presence, or performance, I should say, is what's considered.
Wow, that's interesting.
Now, if you've cheated as well, so if you've tried to you want to use the keywords many times, but it's starting to sound robotic, and then you put it in white text, that's cheating. If you buy links, that's cheating. If you create, like there are so many different ways to cheat. If you cheat the algorithm, and Google catches you, then that's going to affect your quality score.
Interesting. And that's funny because you don't think of it is they actually have to catch you, but if they catch you, you're caught.
Yes.
And you have no idea if they caught you or they didn't, do you?
They do. Most of the time you will get it in, I'm getting like really technical. If you want to This is what I do like 24/7.
Well,
I can get
this
into
is
the
my
nitty-gritty.
curiosity. It just keeps
Okay,
going
sure.
down and down the rabbit holes.
Okay. So there's a tool. So you probably know Google Analytics. Most people have that, but most people don't actually set up another tool that's called Google Search Console. And Google Search Console is like, so Google Analytics is the analytics once people are on your site, and Google Search Console, it's the analytics before people get onto your site. It's on the Google page. So it will tell you all the words that people search for to get to your site, how many of those people clicked, what the positioning is in different countries, and so on. And so there's a report in that tool, and it will tell you what violations you've committed with Google. And then so if you can check that report, and if Google has caught you cheating, then it'll be listed there, and then you can ask to be forgiven. So what you do is you send a letter to Google saying, Mr. Google, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God, right?
You have to prove that you've tried to undo all the bad behaviors you've done. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
And then you stop by at the church and you get your your penance. Oh my goodness, it's so crazy, but it's so interesting because do you find that people do offenses and not necessarily, like, of course there's people gaming things, right? But do you find that just regular people like us are out here making mistakes that we have no idea has offended the googly man?
No, I think most people...
it's intentional.
Yeah, usually it's intentional. Like it's usually with like e-commerce where I see it. It's like e-commerce or like affiliate marketers, media publishing companies, like sites that make money directly from their site, right?
Okay.
Like if they're doing display advertising, affiliate links, they really depend on like a high amount of traffic. It's directly related to their revenue. So that's where I see it. And those people, they're it's very, very intentional.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. That's so funny. I just think it's really funny that you can write a letter and say, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it.
So, well, actually, this is a risk, now that you bring it up. So if you hire a very cheap SEO agency, they're going to want to show you fancy numbers in their monthly reports, right? And be like, look, how much traffic we got you. And so that's something to consider is like, if it's super cheap, they may be cheating, getting you spam traffic or low quality traffic just to show you that, look, we're meeting our deliverables, but none of it actually converts. And so they could be doing it in unethical ways or ways that are against Google's policies. It's called black hat SEO. So that's something to consider.
Okay. And how would we would put that Google console on our website and run the report ourselves so that we could double check that somebody is or isn't doing this crazy stuff to our SEO, right?
Yeah, of course. It's a free tool.
Yeah. Okay. I would never be able to figure out how to do it, but I'm sure somebody could. Okay. All right. So I guess in the end of the day, Daniela, give me some idea of, like there's somebody listening that has also listened to Sarah Barney's episode and is thinking to themselves, I remember being really convinced when Sara did it that this was probably a good investment, and I've kind of let it go off the to-do list, and I stopped thinking about it as being valuable. And there's also somebody that's listening that didn't hear that episode, and they're thinking, but how does it convert, and what can I expect in new clients? So, for instance, we're not selling. Designers aren't wanting to get 20 clients a month for the most part. They're looking to get, 2 to 3 great, 5 great inquiries, build that pipeline out for 6 or 8 months, and then roll in another set of pipeline. Tell us what expectations are reasonable and what results have you seen in your working with designers?
Yeah, this is a fantastic question. So I think it also really depends, like the number of inquiries you're going to receive and expectations to have depends on your market, and it depends on the kind of services you provide. So it's like residential is not the same as commercial, for example, or experiential design. So you're going to So yeah, that's something to take into consideration. How many inquiries can you get? And like we see our clients typically in the beginning, when we just start off, they get between 20 to 30 inquiries. Half of those are pretty good, and then even like a quarter of that actually converts. So most of our clients, they get about 2 to 3 sales, like really good sales, a month. And then as time progresses, we can fine tune the keywords that we're competing for. We see what works and what doesn't work, and so then we can bring down those number of inquiries. But in the beginning, we kind of want to cast a little bit of a wide net, just so we can have some data to work with, and then we can fine tune as we progress. So again, that number can really vary depending on your services in your market, but that's what we see with a lot of our clients.
And so did I just hear in there, that was interesting, that in the beginning, you actually are, you as a goal of trying to get more inquiries than necessarily someone is looking for or would like to manage, because then you're going to learn from what kind of inquiries they are. Oh, when we use that word, we get this kind of client answering, and we don't want that one. Is that what you're talking about? Interesting.
Exactly. So we get our clients we have a spreadsheet, and if they have an internal system, that's great, but we get them to fill out a spreadsheet, and so they track all of the inquiries, and we try to ask them, our clients, to ask their inquiries, like, how did you find us? Do you remember what keywords you used? And if they do, they write notes, and then we compare it with the analytics we see on the back end. So we want to, sometimes there are discrepancies, so we like to get as much information as we can. And then also you can fine tune it as well by, like, for example, one client, she wanted to get clients with, like, homeowners with bigger budgets. So in the contact form, we put that it's like our prices start at this, and then we tweaked the case studies. So, like, instead of putting the actual number, we put like a range of what she did for the project. So that's a way to kind of filter people out before they even come and talk to you.
Exactly. But I love that idea. Like, it's an interesting thought to me that you would, and I can see it once you said it. So when I work with you and we figure out the keywords, and maybe the first month we get 20 people to call, but I end up coming back and giving you feedback and saying there was only 3 people that was really qualified as my type of project I would take. And if we look across the data and we see that, you know, those 3 people responded to this keyword and the other 17 people responded to 4 other keywords, I was like, okay, throw those keywords away. We don't want to keep finding those people, right? Interesting. Very interesting.
It's hard to get that granular.
Oh, okay. Not that easy, LuAnn.
Yeah. With the specific keyword, but, like, for example, if a client has different types of interior design services that they provide, that's usually how we can filter it out. But yeah, or sometimes the client, like the interior designers, they get a better idea of the kind of clients they want just being on those calls. Because something to keep in mind is that when people come to us, it's because they haven't done any sort of digital marketing in the past. And so they're getting clients just purely from referrals. And so by doing digital marketing, now they get to tap into, like, a state or a market, a region that they've never, they have no contacts in. And so maybe the kind of people in that area or that market is different. So it's also a learning experience for our clients and the designers, to figure out exactly what kind of customers they want to work with.
Very interesting. It is so interesting. It's this very, it's confusing for those of us that don't do it. But I have to say, I do agree that either out the gate make a budget for it or intend to create the budget for it. I mean, we're always saying, my partner in Exciting Windows, Steve Wishnow, is always saying, always be marketing. You know what I mean? He's like, always be marketing. You never are not marketing. And SEO is part of that mix. And I guess to your point, whether you're doing it DIY in the beginning and growing towards it, but it's just like anything else in my mind. What do I need to sit here and figure figure out how to do SEO for? Like, if, you know what I mean? Like, what? You know, it's just like, we don't want clients to figure out how to do a floor plan. You know, we're
Yeah.
here, the experts. Let us do it, right? So very interesting. Is there any part of the conversation surrounding SEO, Daniela, that we have not brought into the conversation that we should address before we close?
We went through so much. And I feel like I could keep, you're so curious and open to hearing all of this. I feel like I could go even deeper, but I think that's enough for
Right. It's our heads are
for the
spinning. Our heads are
yeah,
spinning.
yeah.
That's it. So just let everybody know how they can find you and take a look at your website, where I'm sure, you know, I did see case studies on there. So interesting.
Yeah.
So go ahead and tell us.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can reach me at, well, you can just Google us. We're called Findable Digital Marketing. So we're easy to find, hopefully. That's our job. And we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram. You can check out our website. You can contact me directly at Daniela@findableddigitalmarketing.com. I'm always open to talking to anyone that's kind of interested in investing in this part of their business and growing it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise today, Daniela.
Thank you so much to you for your questions and just your genuine interest in giving me the platform to talk about this, something that I really love, and I really hope it's helpful to anyone that's listening.
Definitely. It makes sense, right? You have the pictures, you have the portfolio on your website. Now make it work harder for you. And are you thinking, LuAnn, are you kidding me? Do you know what it took me to just shoot the project and get it up on the site? And now you want me to go back to all the projects and get knee deep in meta descriptions, keyword research, and case studies? Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I know you're busy. I know you have a lot on your plate. So what's the answer here? Well, it's like everything else in our business. We have to choose. Spend time or spend money, right? If you're in the season where you need to spend time, right, because you can't hire somebody, my recommendation is to start small, really small. Choose one project, the one that best defines the work that you want to be known for. You already have the photos. You can still remember the details of the project, right? Let's assume you can still reach out to the client and ask for a review if you haven't already. With these details and some concentrated thought and research put into keywords, you have what you need to create your first case study. From there, part 2 of Daniela's strategy is to create a blog from the detailed info you have in the case study, and then link to the case study from the blog. She also suggests adding a link to the case study on another key page of your site, such as your services page. Now, because Daniela works so closely with designers, she knows how much work goes into design, unlike so many of the other people out there, non-designers, that think it's about picking paint colors and pretty pillows, right? So with her strategy, she's saying go deep into demonstrating everything that you do in your work. This is not the time to make your job look easy. You do that in person, right? You show up confidently. You've got this. But here you want to spell out and detail the depth of your work. This is helpful for potential clients so that they understand what goes into a project and what level of expertise they need and that you deliver when you do a project. Now, take all that hard work you did on an actual design project, case study, and blog, and package it into a compelling PR pitch. Focus on what makes your project different. Picture yourself as that editor. They're scouring the world for something compelling. What about your project is different? Find that story, the one that will make people stop and want to know more. In the end, this is no joke. It's a lot of work, but what I love about it is that you are giving your project a new life. You are extending the opportunities and leveraging and maximizing everything it can do for your future business, right? And if you're at a place in your business where you maybe can invest some money into SEO, Daniela offered great tips for hiring the right person or agency. Avoid anyone who guarantees rank or makes promises that sound too good to be true. Legitimate SEO is a long game, Daniela said. Ask what services they offer. Do they just optimize what's already on your website, which is fine, or are they more full service? They are creating a strategy for creating and repurposing new and existing content. Have they worked in our industry before? SEO can be different for e-commerce versus service-based industry, okay? Now, the other thing she said is they should want to get to know you and your business, and you should have the opportunity to consult with them on what terms you might reasonably rank for. And then finally, she says, make sure you know the methods they use to help you achieve your SEO goals by doing your research, so that if somebody comes along with this get quick but unethical results scheme, you want to be able to avoid that, because the Googly man is not going to like that. All right. So here's the thing. We put together a goodies doc for you that covers this checklist of all the items and the things that Daniela suggests that you include in your case study. To get that, go to LuAnnNigara.com/goodies. So thank you so much, Daniela, for giving us this insight and tips on how to do this, because there was enough here that if we have to do it ourselves, we can. If there's enough here that we know we want to hire somebody, we know how important it is. And either way, I appreciate the advice and the insights. I want to say thank you tons for showing up today, you guys. Have an excellent day. And in all things you do, decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.